Today on WTF, we are walking you through how to make a spicy and juicy plant-based chicken sandwich. Hello and welcome to WTF, where we help you transform food in your kitchen. I'm Janie.
And I'm Hannah.
And today on WTF, we're talking all about how do you make a really tasty plant-based chicken sandwich. So we're basing this kind of off of everyone's favorite Chick-Fil-A style, spicy, juicy patties, but we of course wanted to make it completely plant-based. So I'm going to jump right into the demo today because this is a fairly involved process. And we'll kind of talk about some of the things to watch out for and why we include certain ingredients and techniques as this episode goes on. So definitely stick around. We're going to go soup to nuts here. All right, Hannah, why don't we start first with the dry ingredients, which are the basis of the patty. What do we use in this recipe?
So our first dry ingredient we have is textured wheat protein. And this is going to provide the texture within our part of the texture for our plant-based patties. Mm-hmm. And then we are also going to be using Faba bean protein powder. And this is what is going to be providing the protein that the TG later is going to be using.
Yeah. And just a quick note on the TWP, which we were just talking about this off camera, which is if you're gluten-free and you want to substitute in textured vegetable protein, you can still make a patty from it. It's not going to have the same texture that we're going for here. So just FYI, if you're looking for substitutions. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Great, and then we also have our nutritional yeast flakes, mostly for flavor. Mm-hmm. And we have our Methylcellulose HV, which is going to provide that juiciness, that gelling within the burger.
Because you need something that's going to hold that burger together, because otherwise you're going to have a clump that's falling apart as soon as you try to cook it.
And next few ingredients are just seasonings. So we have thyme and sage. We have ground mustard, garlic and onion powder, MSG.
You can skip it if you like, if you're like, boo MSG, but we love MSG. You can also substitute MSG with umami powder, which we carry in the store if you're very anti-MSG, but we like it. It's tasty.
And of course, salt. Mm-hmm. And we are going to be adding our hot sauce as well. If you would like to make this spicier, you could always go ahead and add some cayenne pepper, some red chili flakes, anything that really bump up that spice level. And then, of course, we have our TG, TI here, most important ingredient that we're involving.
If you watched our Transglutaminase episode from a few weeks ago, in there we kind of talk about why TG is such an important part of the recipe. So we have the methylcellulose, and that's going to provide some of the bind in the recipe. Mm-hmm. However, we found that methylcellulose alone, it still gets a little bit crumbly because it only gels when it's heated. So the combination of having the MooGlu TI, which is a microbial vegan transglutaminase, along with our added protein source of the Faba bean protein, is going to just help create that texture. And that's kind of what we're really looking for in this recipe. We're looking for that juicy chicken patty texture. So this particular item is very important to holding it all together.
Great. So this is just all of our dry ingredients. We're going to give this a good stir so everything is combined, and then we can go ahead and hydrate the mixture. We have 80 grams of water here. And we also have our hot sauce. We are using Red's hot sauce. You could use any hot sauce you would like.
It's true.
Any of your favorites. This is 2 tablespoons for the mixture, which we think gives a nice light spice, but if you want to go spicier, of course, add as much as you would like.
Mm-hmm. You can omit it altogether if you don't want spicy, but we like having the check.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you can see that the mixture's coming together, everything is incorporated, and we can go ahead and turn off our mixer. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this mixture, we're going to let it sit in the fridge overnight. It's going to hydrate. It's really that TG is going to start working and making those bonds so that we have a patty that sticks together.
Yeah, so we cannot overemphasize how important it is in this process to have that overnight, preferably even 24 hours or longer hydration period, because you need to allow the transglutaminase time to link with the faba bean protein. If for some reason you don't want faba bean protein and you omit it, this recipe will not work. So you do need to have a source of plant-based protein in this recipe that is rich in lysine and glutamine. If you're like, what is she saying? Click on the link in the description below and check out the episode from a few weeks ago where we talk about how transglutaminase works with lysine and glutamine. So now we're going to let this particular patty hydrate overnight, but of course we are going to bring out some that we've pre-hydrated that are ready to go so we can show you the next step in the process.
So in the mixer now we have our chicken mixture that has been rested overnight and fully hydrated, and as you can see it's in pretty large clumps. So what we're going to do is just put this on stir, give it about 30 seconds or so to break up the mixture into little pieces. About pea-sized is what we're going for. So now that this has been broken up, we are going to be adding in our final two ingredients, which is our burger binder that has been hydrated overnight. This is a mix of our burger binder with water, and just let it sit overnight and it's going to become somewhat of a gel, as you can see. And also our marbling fat, which is our Druid's Grove coconut oil and water, as well as the Methylcellulose HV as well.
Now, if you've been watching WTF for a while, you've probably seen both the burger binder as well as the marbling fat pop up in different recipes, including our plant-based chicken nuggets, including our plant-based burgers and plant-based steaks. Now, these two are really crucial components to making a lot of different plant-based analogs. So later on in this episode, as we're frying up this chicken patty, we're going to have some dead air time. So we're going to use that time to kind of show you step by step how exactly do you make the marbling fat, because you can use this for a lot of different recipes, but we kind of wanted to, jump around a little bit so that we can show you how to make this particular chicken patty. All right, back to you, Hannah. What do we do with it?
Great. So again, we're just going to put this on stir and go ahead and incorporate our marbling fat, which is going to really bring some juiciness to these burgers.
Yeah, because I know the name says marbling fat, and you're like, chicken has no marbling fat. Why do you need it? It's really just there because what the marbling fat does is as you're cooking the chicken, it's going to melt, and that is where the juiciness comes from. So if you cook it without any marbling fat, you're basically just going to get a very, very dry chunk of meat analog, which we don't want. We want a juicy chicken patty. That's the fun of it.
And then last but not least, we are going to be adding in our hydrated burger binder, which we can just...
So the burger binder is what's kind of going to keep everything together that we're putting in this mixture. So this is also a methylcellulase-based product, but it is a special form that, we've discovered has the best cohesion. So we use it in our burgers, we use it in our chicken patties. I believe we also use it in our plant-based bacon. I'm not 100% on that one, but it sounds right. So you definitely can see a lot of different uses for the Druid's Grove burger binder.
And just going to let this mix for about 30 seconds again, get fully incorporated, and then we can hop right into making some patties.
Yeah, so there's no second rehydration or downtime for this. We can go straight into cooking.
Nope. Yeah, just make sure that before you're making this that you have your burger binder hydrated and you have your marbling fat in the freezer, so you will be all good to go.
Yeah, you can get the full recipe in the links in the description below. The marbling fat in particular, and the reason why we had to reset is that the marbling fat should always be kept in the freezer until the very last minute, because you don't want that coconut oil to melt at room temp, because the Druid's Grove coconut oil, it's a special form, it melts at a lower temp, it's deodorized so it doesn't make everything you cook taste like coconut, and so you can't leave that out at room temp. By the time you use it, the marbling fat will be ruined.
All right, so now it is time to make these patties.
Cool.
And this mix should make about 5 patties at 150 grams per patty, but of course, if you want to make your patties bigger, bigger or smaller, that's up to you. All right, so, and we're really just looking for about the size of your normal burger.
So did you find, Hannah, as you're cooking it, did the patties shrink at all, or do they stay pretty much about the same?
No, they stay the same size, and so I'd recommend this to be about a good size. You can see that we have the marbling fat in there. That's going to melt and give us that nice bite. So now that we have all of our patties made, we can go ahead and take them through the breading process to give us that nice crispy outside that we're looking for. So starting off, we're going to do a coating of flour. You can just kind of shake off that extra flour, you don't need it. And then we're going to go into this, which is our batter binder S, as well as water.
So this is a great replacement for the egg wash that normally comes in this step if you're avoiding eggs.
And then lastly, we are adding our panko breadcrumbs.
I personally always like panko better. I like it better than the Italian breadcrumbs. They're just so much crispier.
And now that that is fully coated, it will be ready to go in the fryer.
Cool.
Right. All right, so now it is time to fry. We have our pan, it's set to 375 and just filled with canola oil. And we're gonna go ahead and add our patties in. Be careful not to burn yourself, of course.
And I know a question that someone out there is already thinking about is, can I cook this in the air fryer? And we've tried it, and the answer is no. And the reason for that is because a huge part of what makes this patty delicious is having that marbling fat in there melting into the chicken patty. And if you cook it in the air fryer, unfortunately that crust, it's not going to get up to temp fast enough. So basically all the fat is going to leak out. However, what did you find about the air fryer when we tried it?
So I did the whole method of frying it initially, so it was a fried food, but I reheated it in the air fryer for my lunch, and it kind of remelted the fat again, and it came out just as delicious as it did coming out of the fryer. So I would say if you wanted to fry off a batch for your week, and you could even freeze them, pull them out, and you can pop them in your air fryer. It was only about 8 minutes or something, so no time at all, and it had a great chicken patty after that. So
yeah, I know recently we've been doing like a little mini, short thing. We called it like "What's in My Food." We were talking about different commercially purchased foods and what's in them. And one of the things that we tried was the Gardein. It was like ultimate chicken patty or something like that. And we tried that one. I would say it was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. It was fine. And this one is just like far superior to anything that you can get at the grocery store. And I love how Hannah said you can meal prep, make a whole batch, freeze them, pull them out when you want them.
Yep.
Yeah. And how long are we frying these for? How do you know when they're done?
I'd say you're frying probably anywhere between 5 to 8 minutes. So you're really just looking for these to be golden brown on the outside. And since there is no meat products in here, I mean, that's not really a concern. We're not looking for this to necessarily reach that 165 that you would need for if this was actual chicken. But again, it's a good indicator. Once the outside is golden brown, it's going to be hot all the way through and ready to eat.
Yeah. So we're going to use this time to pop up a little picture-in-picture like the old-fashioned days that shows you exactly what happens when you are making the marbling fat, because that process was a little involved and we weren't able to stick it here on camera. So while this patty is finishing frying, Hannah's going to walk you through that process.
To hydrate burger binder, pour 400 grams of water into a blender. Once a vortex is created, slowly sprinkle 12 grams of burger binder into the vortex to avoid clumps. Blend for another 30 seconds to a minute to fully hydrate. Pour the mixture into a container and rest uncovered in the refrigerator overnight, or up to 24 hours. This will allow some of the bubbles to settle out of the mixture, and for the burger binder to fully hydrate and create a strong binding gel. To create the vegan marbling fat, pour 100 grams of water into the blender and create a vortex. Slowly sprinkle 2 grams of burger binder or Methylcellulose HV into the blender, avoiding clumps. Blend for another 30 seconds to fully hydrate. Once hydrated, begin streaming in 300 grams of Druid's Grove coconut oil. It's important to stream the coconut oil in very slowly to fully emulsify the oil into the mixture. Spread the fully emulsified mixture onto a parchment-lined baking sheet and freeze until completely solid. Once frozen, it can be broken up into smaller chunks and stored in an airtight container in the freezer for future use. One batch of marbling fat is enough for multiple recipes. To prepare for use, weigh out the required amount for your recipe and break into pea-sized pieces. We find that the best way to create these pea-sized chunks is by chopping the pieces with a kitchen knife on a cutting board. You can also use a cheese grater or a fork. All right, so it's been about 5 minutes now, and our chicken patties are deliciously golden brown. And I'd recommend putting them on an elevated tray like this, just so you can let the extra oil drip off and it's not going to get soggy or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Nothing worse than soggy fried food, I would say.
It's true.
And then if you would like, you can always top it off with just a little bit of salt, just to bring out that flavor a little bit more. And these are ready to eat. I'd recommend giving it a little bit of time to cool down, but you have your finished chicken patties.
Cool.
All right, and now comes the fun part where we get to build our own burgers.
Sweet.
So we have a little spicy sauce over here, but you could do any type of sauce that you would like. And stick with our plant-based theme. We're gonna load up on some veggies.
I think this sandwich, and you can kind of see a finished one here. It looks, it's so plump, it's so juicy, it's holding all of its shape. I think this is better than anything you can get in stores, like by, I don't know, multiples. And if you want to see us tackle any other plant-based recipes, leave that in the comments below, because we're trying to, right now we're kind of thinking about what we're doing for, the summer, fall season. So if there's anything we haven't covered you would like to see us do, leave them in the comments and, we'll do them. That looks amazing.
And there you are.
All right.
And if you would like to try.
I will. Hopefully this is cold enough where I'm not going to burn my mouth, but I will do it for the, this is a huge burger.
Do you want to cut it in half?
I was about to say that. I was like, should we cut it in half?
Here,
I'm going to go for it. No, I'm going to go for it.
Okay.
All right. Don't judge me. There's so much crunchy.
Is it hot?
Mm-hmm.
I would assume.
Not too hot, but
Yeah,
it is
okay.
hot. You can kind of see how nice this patty is. I mean, I can squeeze the juice out of it. Cole, I hope you're getting a close-up right here. Right? If you can't see it, there's definitely juice coming out of this. So this is a juicy patty. It's not dry at all. It's absolutely delicious. It has a great texture, a meaty mouthfeel. If you're one of those people who's like, it doesn't taste like real chicken, it's not intended to, but it is a really nice, spicy, juicy, meaty, plant-based chicken patty. Hopefully you enjoy. Find all the recipes in the links in the description below. And until next week, from here in the Test Kitchen, I'm Janie.
And I'm Hannah.